Welcome, everybody, to episode
35?
35.
Ooh, I took a guess there. I wasn't even sure.
Of Disturbed and Confused.
Is it really 35?
Episode 35.
That's my lucky number.
Is
it really?
No.
And this is why we invited Jackie, the joke man,
Yes,
Martling, to
the
be
one
with
and
us
only.
tonight. The one and only.
Welcome, Jackie.
Hello.
Pleasure to have you.
I am
Hello.
so honored. I cannot even
Oh,
tell
pleased
you.
with the honor.
I really am. Hey, listen, I tried for 6 months to get you here.
Well, you know, I have one gig every year, and you just keep missing. You know, the pandemic screwed up everything.
Yeah, it sure
You
did.
keep missing the window.
Yes, that was it. I kept
Persistence
missing my
pays off.
window. So, Jackie, wow. I don't I'm speechless, honestly. I shouldn't be doing this right now. But we're going to start with some birthday shout outs. You
Oh,
want to handle that?
all right. We don't have too many today.
What
But
is this? The Merry Mailman?
yeah.
When the Merry Mailman said "Happy Birthday" to me on television when I was about 6 years old, I still remember where I was. I remember exactly. It
Aw.
was so exciting on television.
Yeah, yeah.
Are you kidding me? In 1955.
Wow.
Specifically?
He was
Incredible.
a big Long Island star, Ray. I forget his name, but he was the Merry Mailman.
Wow.
I had it once on Romper Room. Remember Romper Room?
Yes.
That same deal.
I got it. Yeah. I got a
So
happy birthday. I know that. Congratulations.
So these people were all born today?
Yes.
All today. Yeah. Today's what? March
9th.
9th. All right. Happy birthday, Eddie Rothschild, Andrew Peretti, Mary Kennedy, Matthew Dwyer, Rich Schmidt, Mike Hunt.
Go ahead.
She gets me every time.
I'm
Go
not
ahead.
saying nothing.
Janice Messett. Janice Messett.
Miss that.
Messett. Mike Mandel. Iggy Ice. Is that-
That's real.
Really?
Actually. Yeah.
I love
that's a
it.
real name.
Yeah. Patty Hansen and David Green.
Happy birthday.
Patty
She won it
Hansen
all.
was married to Keith Richards, right?
Patty
Yeah.
Hansen?
Yeah.
That was the
Not the
girl's
same
name.
one,
Yeah.
though.
Oh.
Well,
that the
happy
actual-
birthday, everybody.
Happy birthday, everybody.
Happy birthday to you. Anyway, okay. So, let's get started.
I thought you started already.
Mr. Martling,
Jackie will be fine.
Jackie.
thank you. Jackie, so you grew up in East Norwich,
Yes, ma'am.
correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You went
And,
to,
my sister still lives, and her husband still live in the house I was born in.
Oh, wow.
Where I
really?
grew up, and it was built in 1900
Wow.
by my grandfather, and we're pretty sure it was a kit from
Wow.
like Sears and Roebuck or something like
The
that.
house?
That was very popular in those
Oh my
days. There's
gosh.
a couple of houses right on 106. If you're driving along and you know to look for it, you see that 3 or 4 of the houses look almost exactly alike. And it sounds crazy, but you know it was IKEA.
Right.
You know,
Right,
here's
right.
the board, and here's the nails, and there's the
Right.
studs, and you know.
Well, that's like this area as well. They call them Levitt houses, which I'm sure you're aware
It
of.
was the same idea, but
Yeah.
this is like long before. You know, I have no idea how they got the lumber from the, you know, we're talking about
Horses?
horse and buggy and no
Yeah.
electricity and, you know,
Wow.
1900.
1900.
Wow.
Yeah, I have a picture from 1910 of my parents' house looking north on 106, and there's a horse and buggy going one way and a car coming the other way
Wow.
on the
That
same
is
thing.
Thank you.
amazing. For me?
I
Is
think
that
this
Jackie?
is supposed to be a
This for
clean
Jackie?
show.
Jackie, are you going to eat some meatballs?
Jackie, pizza meatballs?
It's
for you?
National Meatball
That
Day.
is very foul.
There you go.
That is-
National Meatball
This
Day.
is
I'm
very
gonna
foul.
just,
Meatballs
you
and
know what?
pizza.
Put mine in the kitchen. 'cause
I'm
I
a
have to talk.
connoisseur, if you remember, of the pizza.
It's National Meatball Day,
And a
and
meatball.
we had done a pizza tasting contest not too long ago, Frank and I.
Yeah, right.
And DiMaggio's Pizza in Hicksville at the West Village Green won our contest. So I will be stopping in there on Saturday to drop off their certificate and a couple of hats.
That's
And
exciting.
say hello.
I'm going to push my balls
That's
off to the
okay.
side. if
He's
it's
pushing
okay.
his balls off to the side.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I thought they were attached, but that's okay. Anyway, so
They
Jackie,
look good. I'm just full. I'll wait till I'm hungry.
that's
Which
okay.
won't be
Does
for
everybody
another
know
7 or 8 minutes.
The spread here, too.
You can do whatever you
Is
want.
everybody-
I took a big bite
nice-
out of this potato, and
I hope you didn't hurt
You
your
did with a lotto,
teeth.
that's it.
I told my friend Ron Zimmerman is just an amazing character. He's been a comic for 40 years, and the stories about him go on and on and on. And his last girlfriend was Cher.
Oh, wow.
Okay? But he was here for a long time, and I said, I got to go. I'm going to do a podcast in Hicksville. He said, what are you, Hicksville? I said, Ron, you lived here for years. You didn't know there was a town named Hicksville? Because that catches people when they don't know about it.
Exactly, sure.
Because they're named after a person, but to the average person, Hicksville, you know.
Mr. Hicks.
It's right next to Dimwit Alley. But Hicksville, glorious Hicksville.
Glorious Hicksville. It is that.
Now, North, what was the town you were
Norwich.
Norwich.
East,
Why is that? One thing, Connecticut. That's Long Island.
No,
Norwich.
North Shore.
The reason it's East Norwich is there is actually a town upstate New York named Norwich. And when the time came to start giving out zip codes, they had to delineate them. But there was a reason even before that. So I guess it's just east of Norwich. So it's East Norwich. You know.
Wow.
Wow.
Oh, you know why I said Connecticut? Norwalk and Greenwich.
Right.
Norwich.
And all those witches, you know.
Yeah.
If they didn't burn them, they named towns after them.
See, I'm disturbed. Frank is confused.
Thank you. See, I earned the name.
Oso or Oso?
Oso.
You not by any chance related to Mario Oso? Do you know MC
No.
Oso? Do you know who that was?
No. Who's that? Wow.
He was
Maybe I am.
Well, he was Cuban. Are you Cuban?
No, Italian.
He was a phenomenal guitar player from way so long ago that we actually used to go see him in his band.
Wow.
And then we became very good friends, and we played the same circuit. He actually was my roommate for a while, and
wow,
just a real character. Now, if you had said Mario, my brother, I don't know. There's probably not three OSSO. There's probably not three people in the world. You know, he was Mario for years when he was playing guitar and singing by himself, and then at some point he decided to become MC Oso. Same guy, same songs, but he was.
We have to be related because
you need to
any
Osos.
There's none. Yeah, I don't know any.
I called him So-So.
Oh my God, I'm so using
Don't
that.
Don't you get any ideas?
I am so using that. Thank you, Jackie. Frankie So-So.
All right, you got the.
Oh, to my friend Mario.
Is he around, Mario?
What do you want?
I'm just saying you guys are done.
Who's peeking over?
Why don't you come sing something?
Jackie wants more meatballs.
No, he's good. He's
Come
good.
sing something.
Jackie wants you to sing, Mia. Maybe later.
Maybe later.
Mia will be singing at the Long Island Ducks Stadium on April 16th.
Yeah.
Fan Fest.
National anthem.
Their
Right?
tickets are free. Anybody can go. And it's all about the fans that day. Dina, my love, will be doing face painting on the field.
Oh wow.
You're Frank. Andrew Washington will be doing his magic for everyone. And I will be there just saying hello to everyone in the crowd.
Supporting everybody.
And you can join us.
Maybe
I'm playing second base that day.
You are. I thought you were throwing out the opening pitch.
No, I did that once at Chase
Did you?
City Field. Yep.
Oh wow.
And that's.
Did you throw a strike?
It is really intimidating.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is a long.
It's far.
If you haven't played baseball in a long time, you know. Whoa! I mean, I threw a strike. It just happened to bounce in front of home plate.
Okay.
But at least it was straight to the catcher.
Wow.
But like because you're thinking if I throw it too hard, it's going to go over his head, and you know. And I was nervous because there were like 7 or 8 people in the stands, you know.
At least 7 or 8.
At least 7.
Everybody's saying hi. Wow, they're so excited you're here, Jackie. Nikki Delaney, Ann Rothman, Cindy Seville.
Oh, this is live. Those
This
are real
is live.
people
Christine, Frank's girlfriend.
All of you, if you want to get jokes in the mail, email me jokeland@aol.com. JOKELAND at AOL.com, and I send tons and tons of stuff.
Yeah, Bruno Coppola actually just posted your website right here for everybody to see.
Wow, good call,
Thank
Bruno.
you, Bruno.
That's my actual website.
Yes.
We just started a podcast, me and my friend Peter.
Peter Bales.
And my most exciting news is there's a documentary about me called Joke Man that was ready to go just as the pandemic switched gears into high gear. But now it's ready to go. And we had a screening on Long Island, and everybody loves it. And it's so much fun. I don't know how far it's going to get. I think we're going to probably screen it at one of the governors and screen it at the Friars Club. And we got a couple of different ideas.
Great.
But, all you need is 1 or 2 higher ups to say, "Wow, that's interesting. More
Yeah.
people should see that."
Sure.
Right.
So it at least gets run up the flagpole.
Yeah,
run up the
sure.
flagpole and let it get rejected.
Right.
It doesn't count as a rejection if nobody sees it.
Right.
That's perfect for like
Wow.
Amazon or a streaming platform.
That's funny.
Danny Kennedy says, "Hey Jackie, I'm a longtime fan."
Yeah.
That's very nice. Andrew Washington, the magician, is saying hello. He's also the host of The Truth with Andrew Washington and Frank
Andrew.
Corriera. What up, my people? He's saying.
Now wait a minute. I have a problem with a magician having a show called The Truth.
He got you, Andrew.
Yeah,
He got you.
Andrew.
Gotta change the name of the show now.
Andrew, make up your mind.
That's
an
funny.
excellent
Watch me
observation.
pull
That was an excellent
Watch me pull a
observation.
rabbit out of its cage.
Yeah.
But congratulations.
Aw, thanks. That's
On
very
whatever
sweet
you
of
did.
you. So I was reading in your book.
How come you need notes? You don't know me well enough that you don't need notes?
Listen, I'm a blonde and I'm older, so I need to, a little bit of help here. I have my little cheat
All right,
sheets here.
I'll-
But Jackie has a wonderful book. It's called The Joke Man, Bow to Stern.
Mm-hmm.
If you have not read this book yet, you really need to, because I have not been able to set it down. It is really incredible.
I appreciate that. I have to say, if you want to order it online, you have got to Google The Joke Man, Bow to Stern. Because if you just Google Bow to Stern, you get a 7th grade sailing manual.
Really?
I
No way.
swear to you. Bow to Stern is an actual 7th grade sailing
Bow to
manual.
Stern.
If
Yeah,
you
yeah.
just put The Joke Man, a million different things come up. But if you
Yeah.
go into Amazon books, The Joke Man, Bow to Stern, and it's fun. A lot of people like it. I think I hate to quit a deal. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. I don't want to wreck the deal, but I think there's a real good chance that I got a deal for my sequel to it. And it's not even a
great.
sequel, because when I wrote my autobiography, I wrote enough for 2 books because I didn't know how much they were going to need,
Right.
and they only used half of it. So I had to kind of do Sophie's choice and pick what
Right.
chapters.
Oh, right.
So this isn't a sequel of what happened after this book. This is the stuff in between the cracks.
Right.
And so much of the stuff that didn't make it into the book. I'm like,
Wow.
how did that not,
Right,
See,
right.
that's what I want
choice,
to hear,
you know?
the stuff that didn't
Yeah,
get
yeah.
into the book.
And it wasn't because it was too mean or not mean or dirty or fun. It just somehow I think the best chapter in the whole thing is the story of making private parts, and that
Yeah.
didn't get
It
into
didn't
the
get in the
book.
book?
Really?
I have no idea how that slipped
Wow.
through the cracks,
Wow.
But it's all fun stuff. It
Are you
really is.
going to do a sequel?
Yeah, I think I have a deal for it, and it's already written.
Oh,
It's sitting in my
Wow.
computer.
Now, isn't this your
Wow.
second autobiography, Jackie?
No, this is
It's the first one?
First.
I thought it was,
No,
okay.
I had a really huge book deal with Simon and Schuster for Jackie Martling's Disgustingly Dirty Joke,
Oh, right. Joke,
and
right.
that sold a real lot. I made a real lot of money, but that's back when I was somebody, and
When?
that was
You
so
still are.
great. That was so great. And that's a fun book.
You do know you're a legend, right, Jackie?
I
You really
Yes.
are.
I hate that because that
But you
just
are.
that just connotates old.
So many
You're
people
legend.
love
Oh,
you.
It's like,
no,
all right,
you're
well,
not
let's dust them
old.
off and bring them out. You
It's
know?
all about what's on the inside. You're so not old. Don't ever say that. I think
If
you're
you
an
saw what was
amazing.
inside, you know how old I am. That's all right. I don't care.
Okay, so
I could still have sex twice.
that's
Ask
great.
me which is my favorite.
Christmas and Valentine's Day.
The one in the fall.
I love this man.
You
Oh
wrecked
my
my joke.
God.
Mm.
Sorry,
How
I
do
didn't
you
mean
work
to
with
do that. I'm sorry.
Jesus.
I have a big mouth. I'll just get the tape. Somebody get the duct tape and just cover it up.
You're a cop. I respect that much, much, much. But my sister's best
Yeah,
friend's youngest son just became a New York City policeman.
Oh, very nice.
And that's
It's a hard time now to get in.
you know, I was always the favorite of the cops and the firemen and the garbage men. You know, I get to the city at like 5:45 and walk across town from 2nd Avenue to Madison Avenue
Yeah.
from the park garage. And you know, and the policemen or the firemen or the garbage men, they'd scream and yell at me because I was one of their guys. You know.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And it was, I always got a kick out of it, you know. So And then, they helped me here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah.
I got my car stolen in Manhattan,
Wow.
and I had it back the next day. It's unheard of.
How did you get it back?
The parking, it wasn't a parking garage, it was a parking lot,
Mhm.
but where you pay money and park your car.
Yeah.
But they put the keys on top of
Yes, I
on
used to
top
do
of
that.
on
I
top
used
of the tires.
They leave the key, right?
So I go to get my car a day or two later or 3 days later, and the guy can't find it. I'm like, what do you mean you can't find it? I parked it here, and I went to Midtown North, and all my stories are not believable, and I don't have to lie.
Yeah.
Those guys were my friends, so they used to send me stuff. I was wearing a Midtown North T-shirt when I walked into Midtown
wow.
North,
Oh,
which was the odds of that is
Yeah,
just
right.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I tell people it was like walking into Hill Street Blues. Like I walk in and all the cops are so fun and they love me. And I'm telling you, it's a great time, except the fact that I was there to tell them my car's stolen.
Right.
And I said, it was parked in a lot and it's not there. And they're like, Jackie, what can we tell you? And I was like, be square. Is there any chance I'm going to get this car back? And they said, the truth, really, really, probably not. But we're going to do whatever we can. They must have put in all points or something, or put the license plate, because they all love me.
Because technology-wise, that'll
2000. Let's say 2000. It was after I was off the Stern Show.
Oh, okay.
Because
wow, that's impressive. Then
what happened was so weird because I was home. Yeah, it was after I was off the show, and the phone rang in our office, and I never, ever, ever answered that phone.
Wow.
And I answered the phone, and I said, "Hello," and they said, "Is this Jackie?" I said, "Yeah, we got your car."
Oh, amazing.
I said, "You're kidding." And just a couple of homeless or crackheads or bums that just had gone into the lot and just driven it out and driven up to the Bronx or something and sat there getting stoned or shooting, whatever they were doing. And my car was, even nothing was robbed out of the glove compartment. Nothing. The only thing different was it smelled like that Seinfeld episode where they can't get the stink out of the car because there's the two homeless people.
Skunky?
Yeah, sure.
So I go to pick up the car in the Bronx. It's the same scene. It's Hill Street Blues again with all the guys and all the jokes. Only this is a little happier because I'm there to get the car. And then I came home, promptly got in an accident. It was a week. I got the car stolen in Manhattan, got the car back, got the car wrecked, made a connection with a guy I had met, and got my totaled car back 3 days later like new. And that was in a week.
Wow.
And I just quit drinking like a year before or something. So I'm still on a little bit of shaky ground. I'm like, what happened? I don't know how we got in that. I apologize. It's a long story.
No, it's fine.
But that was compliments to the the cops. That was so great. And he was honest with me. Am I going to get this back?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Probably not.
And
Wow.
I'm like, so I'd written it off. Jackie, we got your car. You're one lucky son of a
amazing.
bitch.
You're probably the only one.
And that's when you find out that they leave the keys on top.
Right.
They don't still do that.
Who would look for them unless they knew that? The
Right,
cops
they
know that, but hopefully the cops.
I used to do that. I used to park cars.
Right.
You throw the key in the door's unlocked. It's sitting on the seat. And the little lock thing, then you
Yeah.
could jimmy and take the key right out and drive away. I always thought,
But
that's
they don't
crazy.
still do that today.
Yeah. I imagine.
Really?
Yeah.
Anything anybody ever did, they're still doing,
People
and they're
do
doing it in triplicate.
Right.
Nothing. There's nothing new. There's nothing new.
Wow.
Except I don't sell pot anymore.
Damn, I wish you did.
I give it away.
Oh, he gives it away. So I want to talk a little bit more about your book because, again, I just couldn't put it down. I want to talk about...
I got to tell you that every word in that book is absolute gospel truth.
I can tell.
There were people that complained, why didn't you rag on Howard Moore? Why didn't you attack people? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Because that's not my nature. And other people were like, wow, Jackie really ragged on. I didn't rag on anybody. I just told the truth about everything.
Yeah.
And if it's not what you especially want to hear,
Right.
You know.
But that's what makes
Yeah.
it great, and it's
Yeah,
honest.
Yeah, it's honest.
and it's
the
honest. Mark Twain said, "If you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything."
That's
And that's
right.
really, and
I
it's
love
really
that
true. It's
saying.
not like, oh, Jesus, what did I tell? What did
Yeah,
you
Yes.
tell?
exactly.
So-
Yes.
So
You know, because
I-
people ask me about leaving the show, and I'll talk to them about it, and they'll say, "Yeah, but that's what you said 20 years ago." I'm like,
Right.
"Duh!" You know,
Right. That's it.
the hell's wrong with you? I can't believe I'm looking at this cheese
At
and
this
I'm not
cheese.
eating it. I'm
should
not
be
hungry.
eating it.
I'm so full.
No, yeah.
It's very
Me
nice.
too. It smells amazing. I'm
Well,
seeing it right
I
here.
feel like I'm in a,
Anja.
I did. I had a little super sod.
Okay.
Not
It's
like
super
a
sod,
Roman
but-
orgy, except I'm sitting next to him. Not you.
Maybe we should switch seats.
That's what it's-
Chris won't mind. He's trying to get rid of me. So the Blonde Bombers of 302.
Ah,
Let's talk about that.
I just, I recently am in touch with a girl who's the head of the Michigan State University alumni.
Okay.
And I've been in search of something for decades. And she's on Twitter, Lisa P. I think it's Lisa P. MSU. And she put a thing, spring break is here. And there's a little graphic. And share your stories.
Ugh.
So I attached a picture that I think's in the book of me hanging from the tree.
Yes.
And she was like flabbergasted. And that was a trip to Fort Lauderdale
Yeah.
in 1967 when I was a freshman with the blonde Barnes. Me and this guy from Detroit, from Livonia, just wound up in the same dorm room at Snyder Hall at Michigan State. And we were both blonde. And we were both in good shape, and we both had a girlfriend named Patty, and both of our girlfriends called us Pudge.
It wasn't the
It
same
was,
girl,
it was
right?
just so off the
Wow.
charts, and we were the Blonde Bombers of 302. Then another
Oh,
friend of
okay.
ours, a rich kid from Detroit, he became the third Blonde Bomber, and it was the whole day. And we got in trouble for everything, but I almost got thrown out of school for mooning the president of Michigan State. Now, is that in the book?
No.
Okay, that's
That
got to be in
I
the
did
sequel.
not
So what
say.
happened was, I'm not going to tell a long story, but there was a panty raid. Michigan State was an immense place, and we gathered so many guys. I didn't start the thing, and we wound up on the other side of campus with like 300 or 400 guys. And a panty raid was you stand outside the girls' door and yell, "Give us pants, give us pants," and then a couple of girls would throw a pair of panties. It was as harmless, like 1950s stuff.
Yeah.
And by the time we came back across campus, we jumped over the wall of the intramural building, and one person jumped in the pool, and that was me. And then we made it to Cal's house, which is where the president of the university lived. And somebody said, "Where are those crazy guys from Snyder Hall?" And me and two other guys who were not named in this went up on the steps of Cal's house, and the president wasn't home. And we did a thing that we used to call the review, which was something we did at parties that made no sense. What's so hysterical is in the first, I'm pretty sure it was Silence of the Lambs. If one Silence of the Lambs, it was Red Dragon. But one of the Hannibal Lecter movies, Buffalo Bill, the guy that peeled all the skin off the girls, and
Yes.
Sure.
he did a naked dance in front of the mirror, and he did what we used to do: tuck himself between his legs so it looked like he was a woman.
Right.
And we used to do a little dance and then turn around and
Do you still do that
a little
today?
dance.
no, I don't have to tuck it in anymore. But so we did that on the steps of Cal's house, and I got reported. And
Oh, wow.
and I got called up in front of the board. And it's so funny because the other two guys I was with, one of them was in charge of an entire hemisphere for UNESCO. Another guy is a multi-millionaire real estate salesman in
wow.
California. These are
How about that?
guys that,
Right.
did
Yeah.
stuff, but they weren't named. I was the loudmouth. I got caught. But when I got called in front of the board, there's like 12 men and women. This is Michigan State and the board. And they sent out a letter CC'd to my dorm advisor, my resident assistant, the head of the mechanical engineering department, my parents. It was CC'd to like 12 different people.
Wow.
And this was
Oh,
a
geez.
scolding letter. And it had the word mooning in the letter in quotes. I swear on my mother, it was right then that Jackie Martling
In quotes.
mooned.
Yeah.
It was not mooned in quotes which was so priceless. And to this day, I cannot find that letter.
Ah.
I maintain that it's probably somewhere in the archives.
Right, sure.
And I finally came across this girl, Lisa, and she thinks it's the funniest thing she ever heard. So she's trying to help me find it. But spring break is just the greatest of all times. And that was, you know.
So I read about something that happened when you went up to Ann Arbor with the boys after the football game. And you were cheering on Michigan.
I got punched and my buddy, one of the Blonde Bombers, Chris Hoffman's brother, lived in a house with a bunch of guys. And we, of course, had no money and no tickets, but we went down to Ann Arbor. And when they kicked the kickoff, we took our first drink, you know, one of those deals.
Right.
And we go down there to cop pot, but that wasn't for another year. And we got so drunk. And then we came walking out after the end of the game or whatever, and the streets are packed. It's, you know, the Michigan State University of Michigan. It's like Army-Navy game.
Right. Yeah.
And I was so drunk and so belligerent. And this guy punched me, and I was like, and he disappeared in the crowd, and I was all crazy. And the cop said, you know, you guys calm your friend down. And they couldn't do anything. And they said, look, we got to take him. And my friends were like, yeah, take him.
Yeah.
So I go.
So they arrested
I got
you.
locked up in Ann Arbor, which is an hour and a half, I think, from Michigan State. The week before, my roommate, the other Blonde Bomber's parents came from Livonia and took us to dinner. Took us out, treated us to a steak dinner. I hit it off with his parents, so great. The guy's father's the most great guy in the world. And a week later, I'm in jail in Ann Arbor. What am I going to do? I called my roommate Nick's father and said, Mr. Puskas, I'm in jail.
Yeah.
And his father came from Livonia to Ann Arbor, bailed me out, drove me back to Michigan State, bawled me out, and then we laughed our balls off all the way to Michigan State, and we were best friends until the day he died. But imagine, you know, you meet the guy once and say, hello, honey, I was in jail. You know,
Right.
God, but that was.
Are you still?
I still am a little bit in touch. Nick is a little wacky. He's in his father passed away a long time ago.
Oh, okay.
We're talking 1960.
Yeah, right. That's wild.
So this was 1966. We had just started college.
What about Chris?
Huh?
Chris Hoffman. What about Chris?
Yeah, I just sent him that little graphic of the spring break thing yesterday. Yeah, he's a great character. You know, I'm still in contact with a lot of those guys.
That's great.
You know.
Wow. Now, your dad was a police officer, no?
No, my father was deputy superintendent of highways.
Oh, okay.
And his uncle was the chairman of the national chairman of the Republican Club.
Oh, wow.
Who was Eisenhower's campaign manager both years.
Wow.
And he was the first guy that ever got someone elected using television. So in 1952, 14 people had TVs, so they were still doing whistle stops on the back of trains and waving to the crowds. And by 1956, everybody had TVs. And Eisenhower, nobody remembers, in 1955, Dwight Eisenhower had 2 major heart attacks. He could have never campaigned, but all he had to do was, my great uncle Len just put him on the, put him on television, and he won in a landslide.
Wow, I never heard
great
that.
stuff. And that the whole first chapter of the book. His father is the guy who worked at Sagamore Hill, and he was raised on Sagamore. He was named by Theodore Roosevelt's daughter. And it's a whole and since that book came out, we found out the DNA didn't match up.
Oh, it didn't.
But that's
because you found a lot of stuff in your
that still doesn't hold any water, because all somebody had to do was step out of line along the way. I have framed pictures of framed letters to my grandmother, who was Uncle Len, who was the big cheese. His oldest sister was my grandmother. And this letters to her from from Edith Roosevelt, Roosevelt's wife, and from Ethel Roosevelt Derby, which was his daughter. And they were all, her father Frank ran Sagamore Hill, so all the kids, there's 8 of them running around, and there's 5 Roosevelts running around. We're 7 years old. I don't know that your father's president, your father's a caretaker. We're breaking balls. I hit the baseball further than you. Who's cool? So it's all interesting. It's all interesting.
That's
Meanwhile,
incredible.
Some history there.
Get
wow.
the book.
Yeah. This is all in the book?
Oh yeah.
that's the first chapter. The
Yeah.
first
Oh,
chapter.
wow.
It's incredible.
The first chapter is called a Roosevelt question mark. Now I got to do no.
Yeah, that could be the sequel.
But it's so
yes.
funny. The whole thing is. I think it's interesting.
See, I grew up in going with my dad fishing in Oyster Bay, out of Sagamore Yacht Club. That's where my dad kept his boat. So I was there every day of the week. I mean, I loved the North Shore. Loved it. Fishing there. Did fishing derbies when I was a little girl. Still have my trophy.
It's a great place.
Really
my father's sister was married to a guy that lived in Bayville, and they lived on Monroe Avenue, which is I could literally throw a stone from my home now and hit my aunt's house. So we were there every weekend since I was old enough to know where I was. And I was on that same beach in Bayville that I'm on every day now. Like I live on the water, so I haven't really gone too far. But Bayville's they lived there year round when very, very, very few people lived there year round. Slowly but surely, it was always a summer rental, and one by one, people
there's all
would
little
shore up the house and make it so
bungalows.
they could live on it.
Right.
And then this vacant lot became a couple houses. And now it's a bustling community.
Right.
Well, it's actually more like the town that the time forgot, which
Yeah, right,
is fine by me.
Yeah,
I go
love
there.
the Walls Wharf. That's my favorite restaurant.
Oh, it's a restaurant.
Love it.
I go there Halloween time, the Bayville Firehouse.
Oh yeah.
They do the.
That is at the end of my
haunted-
street.
Oh, is it really?
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
If you cross the street, that road
Oh, okay.
leads to my house.
This summer,
do a great
I'm coming
job.
swimming at your house.
You
I
come
will be
anytime.
there.
You come anytime.
I
And then
will
the
be
Bayville
there.
Firehouse in Sandy with a huge flood, and all the entire spook house,
Right.
all that crap was stored in the basement. So it was all
Oh,
destroyed in
really?
Sandy,
Oh, geez.
which is just when the Horrorville opened at the other end of town,
Oh,
when the guy
yes.
bought the
Screen
Oh.
Park.
they bought the
Right, that's right.
the Screen Park. It was a miniature golf course, and now it's a whole
Right,
Screen
right.
Park.
Right.
The guy that built that is the same guy who owns Jekyll and Hyde's.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
That's a great place.
He's
Wow.
a nut. He's a nut. He lives in Laddingtown, and he's a character. Like everybody's a character.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
I always tell people it's the salt water. Salt water and the seafood makes everybody horny and crazy and fun. Funny,
Ann
The salt
Rothney
one.
says, "I'm loving your stories, Jackie." Me too, Ann.
Yeah.
You got some great stories.
Hey,
Jackie.
me and Peter Bales are doing a podcast called
Yes.
Stand Up Memories.
Yes.
It's great.
And what happened was they wanted me to do a podcast, and I never wanted to do one because I like coming on and just
Yeah.
you ask me a question and I
Yeah.
talk too much,
Yeah,
but like
right.
it's fun, and I get to yak and there's no pressure. So they want me to do one. So I said, Peter, why don't you come and I'll interview you? And by the time we were done, I said, we should do this together.
Yeah.
So now we've done 20 shows and we haven't had a guest. We just
Right,
sit
right.
there
I
and
haven't
tell
seen a guest yet.
stories.
Yeah,
I'll be a
yeah,
guest
it's great.
Because but we haven't run out of stories yet.
Mhm.
Now, Peter Bales, he teaches comedy, right?
He teaches comedy
Comedy
and he's
college.
a history professor.
Oh, okay.
But when I met him, we started comedy on Long Island at a place called Cinnamon,
Right.
which
in
is now, I
Huntington.
think, top of the town. It's been 100 different things on the corner of Northern Boulevard and 110. And me and Richard Minervini started comedy upstairs in the restaurant there, and carfuls of people would come out from New York because they made $5 and a hamburger for performing in New
Right.
York, and they come out to Long Island to do our show, and they get
Yeah.
$50 and they get stoned, they get drunk, and they get laid,
Yeah,
they have
yeah.
a merry old time. And Peter was from Locust Valley, and real
Ah.
brilliant guy, and real nice neighborhood, real good character. But he started out at the comic strip with Paul Reiser, Jerry Seinfeld,
Oh,
Larry
wow.
Miller, and all those guys.
Yeah.
And he would bring a car full. He had a car, so he'd bring a car full of them out to do our show. And the first time he came, he said, Jackie, I'm a big fan because we used to come out to when my band played at a place called Rum Runner in Oyster Bay.
Oh, I've been there.
We played there on Tuesday nights. It was usually big bands and a whole big rock and roll thing.
Right.
But local night was Tuesday, which was me and another guy, the Off-Hour Rockers, with 2 acoustic guitars,
Wow.
Yeah.
amplified, but 2 acoustic guitars, and we would pack them in. And Peter said he'd come every Tuesday. he could have kid. He probably didn't hear a note we played, but there was so many girls. He said there was so many chicks. People came from all over. And then he got me passed at the comic strip, and we've been friends for like, over 40 years.
Oh, wow, really?
So we got a lot to, we got more stories that we can't tell than stories we can tell.
Right.
And he's just a great, great guy, and very smart and very funny. And I'm such a loudmouth, and he's so quiet. And it's
you guys have really good chemistry on the podcast. Great,
yeah. Bobby, when you get a minute, can you put up that picture of Jackie playing his guitar in Michigan, please?
You got pictures?
I have one picture. I have a couple of pictures, actually. But the other ones I'll save for later. There it is.
Oh, that's
Check
my
it out
pride
with your
and joy.
East Norwich shirt on.
That's you?
East Norwich
But
Fire.
that was in Michigan?
That's Sparty Stadium behind me. Yeah.
Wow. I was going to say, you have obviously an incredible comedy career. People don't realize you started as a musician.
Well, I wish I was good at guitar players. That makes it look like I was. That's a 1963 Stratocaster right off the shelf in Hempstead.
Wow.
1963.
That was an amazing photo.
Oh, that was,
I love it.
That was the homecoming barbecue for Michigan State, which was.
You remember the moment that was taken?
That picture, there's a whole bunch of pictures from that day that were taken by Gary Lazar, who was our manager. Manager, the guy who got us gigs. There was no manager. He didn't help us pick out clothes. But he was a great guy, and he's still around, and we kicked ass. We were the number one party band for the fraternities, but we weren't any good. And I would tell jokes between songs which would annoy the audience. It would annoy the guys in the band. It would annoy my girlfriend.
It would annoy the audience.
So there's one story I wanted to ask, because never in my life have I ever heard such a story. You found a full, cold keg of beer.
That is such an impossible story to believe.
It really is.
And there's so much more to the story than
on
I
the
think
highway.
We're driving along on our way to go to a party in Manhattan. In my buddy's some little white car, and I was living. It was one of the summers of college, so I was living in my parents' basement. And we're driving along the expressway, and in the right-hand lane, there's a keg. And I said, "Pull over," because I'm thinking it's a keg, like an empty keg,
right?
Which would be a great table.
Right.
You put it on your floor, perfect.
Yeah.
So by the time you could pull over on the expressway, we a couple 100 yards up, and we go running all the way back and go out on. And plus, we're doing a good deed, because the people, they're kegging them.
You didn't stop you to.
And I run out, and it's ice cold, and I'm like, Jesus! And the only thing I could figure was that some moron was making a delivery to a party and probably had a couple of trays of food and trays of sandwiches and trays of hot food and had a keg, and it's probably some moron that didn't have the keg secured, and it probably rolled and bashed right through the back doors of whatever. I mean, there's not. It's not going to fall. It's not going to fall out of a beer truck.
Right.
They've taken beer in kegs before. They're not losing kegs.
So you never found out where it
so
came
we
from?
so we got it. And in my mind, I said, I think I saw a van turn around, but that's just in my mind.
Yeah.
So we put it in the trunk of my buddy's car. And this is so funny, because this keg of beer got me out of the Army. You talk about stupid stories. So we go to Manhattan and we go to this party. And it was, I can't get too off track. But we left it in my buddy's trunk. And we came back home, and it was the same guy, Mike Iacobelli. Oh, that was earlier today. I told the story. This guy, Mike Iacobelli, his parents owned a place in Oyster Bay called the Station Rest, which became Ida's Folly. You might even, if you knew Oyster Bay, it was right by the train station.
Yes.
It was, it was the bar at the end of the line, the Oyster Bay line, and we brought the keg in and put it in the walk-in refrigerator of his mother's bar. But it's like milk.
Yeah.
You can't leave a keg of beer out all night.
Right.
But we didn't know that, so we put it down there. And one night, Charlie, who worked there, he had to go down and change the tap. And he went down and changed the tap and tapped our keg. And all of a sudden, the people at the bar spit the beer out because it was skunk beer.
Right.
But we told Michael's mother, she said, Ida, come on, you owe us a keg of beer, which of course she didn't.
Right.
But she gave us a keg, and we took it at a huge party at my friend's house across from Oyster Bay High School. And we got drunk as hell, and I got into wrestling in the mud with my brother and my friend's brother. And they hit me from the side and wrecked my leg and tore my cartilage. And then they tore a little bit more. And then I was at school, it tore all the rest of the way. And I went into the health center at Michigan State, and they chopped my leg open with a hatchet. And nowadays they laparoscopic, but I got a scar this long.
Yeah.
And they did it, and then years later, however many, 2 years, 3, I'm dodging my physical because I was number 4. I was in the first lottery
for the draft.
Valentine's Day was number 4, and so finally I'm down in Whitehall Street, not Whitehall Street, but whatever the street was. Maybe it was Whitehall. It was a street in Detroit. It was the place in Detroit, which is the same thing like Arlo Guthrie went through when he did his song. You're in the Group W bench and you're in your underwear and they're sticking the fingers and everything. And they said, does anybody have any last complaints? Because all my medical stuff, I kept moving my physical when I was in Michigan and I was in New York and then I was in New York. So I'm dodging my physical.
Right.
And they basically wrote to me and said, if you don't show up for your physical, we're going to come drag you and put you in the Army. So I'm in line. I am 5 people back. They're ready to stamp me 1A. And they says, anybody have any last complaint? And they go through, and I went through the door. I'll never forget, a little Chinese guy. And I said, Doc, I got a bad knee. I walk along the engineering building, and all of a sudden I fall down, which was not an exaggeration.
Yeah.
And I sat on the chair, and he grabbed my knee, and then he grabbed the other knee. And I said, Doc, don't be funny. It's the left knee. He goes, yo, Doc. And he turned around and went like that, and he handed, and I can see it. Number 57, unstable left knee. And I handed it to the guy, and he went, 4F.
Oh, wow.
And he handed me my life.
Yeah.
Because I'm a smart guy. I would have been a first lieutenant. I think they had a lifespan of 25 seconds, if they didn't get shot by their own troops.
Yeah. Wow.
So that keg.
I was going to say, I was just going to say.
That.
Fruit of the poison tree, but nobody believes the story from the word go because
that's amazing.
A full ice cold keg on.
Unbelievable.
Who stops for it?
I would have.
Well, you had to. You would have crashed into it, right? Was it off to the side or on?
It was in the we wouldn't have hit it, but it was in the middle of the right-hand lane. But it still was a hazard. But
what kind of beer was it?
I have no idea.
Who cares, right?
Yeah.
That's funny. That's a very viable question, but at the time, you
don't still have the empty keg, do you? No.
You know what? I should get one and say I do.
Yeah.
That's hysterical.
How great is that? I mean,
Yeah,
that's a great
that's in the book?
story. Yes,
that's why you asked about it. Okay. I got to read.
You guys got to buy the book. I'm telling you, I cannot put it down.
Yeah, really?
I was literally reading as much as I could before the show.
The only trouble is
so
people say, we really enjoy the book, but come on, is any of that, and it every word.
I can tell it's real. You can't make stuff like that up.
It's
hence why it's in the book.
It's so
exactly.
fun. Yeah, and these were stories I wrote as I went along, and then the internet hit. So I used to write a story and post it on the internet because it was so much fun doing the HTML when you had to do your own code and all that stuff. Because now it was a whole new thing. What you see is what you get, where you just type something up and then you put it on the web. But in those days, in the early days of the web, you had to do all the finagling. And if you missed one comma or one slash, the whole page came out, in Chinese. So, so it was fun. I had all those stories.
Now, Jack, you said before that the making of movie Private Parts is not in the book.
No, and it's a great chapter.
Is there anything you can tell me your experience shooting? It's one of my favorite movies. And
you're
seeing is
fantastic.
It was so fun.
Yeah.
But the gist of it's so funny because I had a lot of complaints about the show. I love the show, but I should have got paid more. I should have got treated better. But all these little whiny complaints. But all of my complaints are all encapsulated in that one chapter. Howard always said, we're going to have a movie someday. We're going to have a movie someday. And he said, we're going to write a script. I'll get a script written. And then Fred, you and Jackie will punch it up. It'll be great. And then Howard started saying, oh, yeah, I got a guy and we're writing a script. And it's the greatest script ever. It's the greatest script ever. What happened? We threw it away. It was no good. I got rid of that guy. Blah, blah, blah. Then this went on for a while.
Oh.
And then all of a sudden, he's saying he's got a great script. He's got a great script. And I'm in the foxhole. It's me and Fred and Robin and Howard.
Right.
We're in a foxhole.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, people are wearing an H on a hat, like a baseball cap. And I don't know what's going on. And it turns out that there would be an interview. They set up a production place somewhere. I never found out where. And one by one, taking people and interviewing them and asking them about the show and stuff like that. And I was never asked. And Stuttering John, I guess, when they talked to him about it, he said, yeah, he said, and they said to me, don't mention it to anybody because everybody's not included in this.
Oh.
And at first I thought it was just me. I still haven't found out ever because, you don't like to talk, Fred plays his cards so close and I would never, ever want to put Fred in any kind of weird position.
Yeah.
But he might have not been involved either because we had such important jobs. He still does.
Yeah.
We were the guts of the operation. But, Howard didn't want anybody seeing the man operating, paying no attention to that guy behind the curtain.
Yeah.
And the last thing he wanted was for anybody to see me passing him notes because I was passing him notes and passing him notes and passing him notes. And Fred's doing the sound effects and he's doing the voices. And so I realized they're making a movie and I'm not included. But yet here we are 5 hours a day, this close, making funny.
Yeah.
So it's, there's nothing worse than you're in 7th grade and everybody's going to a party,
Right.
and you're not invited.
Right.
But imagine if you're sitting there with your nose up against the window and everybody's in the party and then they come out and you're working together.
Yeah.
And then at some point they threw the whole thing away. And they decided they're going to do the movie. And Howard came up and he said, listen, I didn't like the movie that they were working on because they didn't include all my guys, which is absurd because it's all his call.
Exactly.
You
I
didn't,
agree.
but they figured a way to make that movie so you would never see what I did.
That's
So if you look at the movie, it looks like they became this whole huge thing.
Right.
And I hopped on at the last possible minute.
Right.
And that's the truth. They did build up in New York,
Right.
but getting #1 in New York was 1/1000th of it. Was going from
Right.
to the moon
Yeah.
after that.
Right.
And but the main thing is when you do a movie, it was the most fun in the world. I sat naked. I sat next to a naked Jenna Jameson for 3 days.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And,
Lucky man.
and she always was a good friend. So,
Yeah.
when you do a movie, you have a thing called a stage reading, whatever they call it, where everybody in the cast, even if you have one line,
Right.
you're sitting at this table and you go through an entire script. One person reads, nighttime in the studio, man sits at the head of the table and everybody else is around. And then everybody reads that thing.
Right.
So nobody ever said a word to me about anything. And we get to the match game scene.
Right. Yep.
And he said, what do you have? And it was blank Willow. And we always had to come up with these different things. And that's as close as the movie came to. And that was a real type scene. We always came up with different things, whether that be a double entendre, filthy word, or for whatever reason made it filthy. And so it was blank Willow. And what do you got? Whatever Fred was and Robin, Brett, what do you got? Gene, I got pussy, And and Richard Dawson, what do you have? I got pussy too, Gene. And they said, Jackie Martling, what have you got? And my line was, I've got pussy, Gene, but I'm a comic, and I've been sitting there for an hour listening to this, so I'm going to break chops.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So I said, I've got pussy, Gene. In fact, I wrote it kind of sloppy, so I guess you'd say I have a sloppy pussy. And everybody, but it was Pussy Willow. Right, but it was blank Willow. I had sloppy pussy.
That's great.
So everybody roars. it's months later. We're on set, and I mean, it's a big time movie. Like they got a guy sitting in my chair so they could put the lights and get it all ready. And then he gets out and I sit down.
Yeah.
And I was at a minor part and I'm sitting there and there are a zillion people there. I even said to somebody, how come they let all these people come in and watch us make the movie? And they said, what are you talking about? They're all working. I mean, there's a guy that holds a cable. There's a guy that holds a cable for the guy that's holding the cable.
Yeah.
And the guy, I mean,
where was that studio you guys shot?
Kaufman Astoria.
Oh, it's in Astoria. Oh, I didn't know
what's
that.
it called?
Kaufman,
Silver Cup.
Silver
I think
Cup.
it's the same
by
place.
the bridge. Yes.
So it's a billion people. Nobody has said a word to me, and we're about to shoot. Now, I know that all those people are union people.
Right.
And the clock is ticking.
Oh, yeah.
And we're talking about a fortune in money.
Yeah.
And it's going to get to me. Do I read what's in the script? Or do I say what I said fooling around at the table read and get my ass handed to me? That's not in the script, you moron. Nobody ever came up and said that was a good line. That was a bad line. Nobody ever said, because that's how it was.
Right.
And we go around, blah, blah, blah. I said, what do you got? I said, I got pussy, Gene, blah, blah, blah. Cut.
God.
And the producer came over, the assistant producer, Danny Goldberg, came over. He didn't even say it out loud. He said, do you remember what you said at the table read? I said, yeah, of course. He said, why don't you try that? Okay. So then we did it again. And I did it like at the table read.
Oh,
and
God.
it's one, if
What
not
was
the
difference
funniest.
between the two?
One was I have pussy, and the other one was I have sloppy pussy, which made it so
You had to
dirty.
make him say it again, right?
I didn't-
No, it's fine. It's legal.
A sloppy pussy willow.
And it
I
was.
hate to do this, but we only have 2 minutes.
I don't
No.
get, but it was
Yeah,
written.
I
It was written sloppy, and
Really?
and
2 minutes.
by all accounts, it's probably the funniest line in the movie.
Oh, hilarious. The scene made the movie.
And nobody ever said Jackie wrote that line or it was his idea, or nobody ever said good job. And and meanwhile, I got paid so badly for that movie.
Oh, really, Jackie? Wow.
Because when they finally said you're in the movie, Rory, my manager, said they offered you double scale. Should I take it? I said, yeah, I don't want to make any trouble. If you're a cop in a movie, you get scale. If you say stop, you get double scale.
Right.
So I got for playing myself in a major motion picture, I made double scale, which is just such a crazy insult. But I love being in it, and
Gary wasn't in it too, outside of the scene, the holding up the signs when he changed.
right. That because he wasn't part of the show yet.
Right.
Oh, he wasn't.
No, those were just little inserts they did.
Oh, right. Okay.
So, Jackie, I want to let everybody know, all of our viewers, you have a show on the 11th in a few days.
It's at the Algonquin Arts Theater in Manasquan, New Jersey, which is an old vaudeville house, and it's spectacacle. It's like 400 or 500 seats, and there's no waitresses, glasses, and clinks. It's just people laughing. I haven't been there in a couple of years because of the pandemic, but it usually sells out, and just a kick-ass show. And a very funny girl named Jackie Byrne is with me.
Nice.
And I've done shows in so long. It's just like I just booked the brokerage show. And,
Don't forget to check out Jackie Martling and Peter Bales, their podcast on Wednesdays at what time?
The new shows release on Wednesdays, but they're always available online. It's standupmemories.com, but all of that branches off of jokeland.com. All my shows, Stand Up Memories. I do cameos, cameo.com/Jackie Martling. You want to send somebody a personalized video, and I make fun of people and tell their favorite jokes and blah, blah, blah. And that's
Love that.
That was my methadone to get me through the pandemic.
Yeah, sure.
And this was fun. I know I yak too much.
No, it's okay. I wish I had another hour.
Absolutely.
I would love
There's
to
so
have
much
you
I
back
want to talk
for part
about.
2 maybe someday.
I'm more than available.
Awesome.
Yay. All right. Sponsors, the Harmony Bar on Newbridge Road in Levittown. Go see them. Go watch the game. Shoot some pool. Have a couple of lovely cocktails and drink.
Responsibly.
There you go. Frankie Boy got it this
word.
time. Michael J. Aston Associates, personal injury attorneys. They are located in New York, New Jersey, and Long Island.
Call them when you get caught drunk driving.
There you go. You can call them at 212-244-6555, keyscutlery.com. They're located at Retro Relics. Out east, keyslovejewelry.com. His lovely wife, Teresa Fitzpatrick, located in Lake Grove, New York. You can call at 631-379-2565. Well, this was such
How'd
an
you get
honor.
all these sponsors? That's pretty good.
And I have more coming. I have 2 more just coming on board now.
Congratulations.
I'm a great saleswoman. Thank you very much.
Way to go.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Jackie.
This
Unbelievable.
was such
Nice
a
to meet you.
pleasure.
You're the best.
Honestly,
Nice
I
to meet you
definitely
guys.
want you to come
Absolutely.
back.
Yeah,
We'll
please.
have food again next time for
My
you.
dial, Joe, 43 years uninterrupted.
That's right.
516-9221.
Wine, baby.
We used it to start comedy on Long Island in
Yep.
1979.
Yeah.
Still
Is that
going.
the original?
Out.
Okay.
Check it out. We will see all of you next week with our regular every 3rd week of the month psychic medium. Chris George will be back joining us. And hopefully in the near future, we will have Jackie Martling back with us again. Thank
If you do
so
this
much.
once a month, no wonder it took us so long to
No,
get
I
this.
do it every week.
Every week.
I just have somebody come on once a month. One of our regulars.
All right, I got it.
Thank you guys. We will see you next week. Share the show. Peace out.